Hi, and welcome to another episode of Type With Me. Are you with me? Well, we're going to see how we can use Typescript with JSON and JSON objects. Let's go! So I prepared a client.ts and a server.ts, and if we look at the server.ts, we have here express methods, for example, and then you'll see that, for example, we just return a JSON object that is a user, and here we just have a method get current user, right? But that user is of a certain type, and of course on the client we just have a fetch, and then we do something like response.json, right, where we get our user back. But that user is also of any type. So how can we match these two from the server to the client and so on, so that we can work properly with types and JSON? Right, so when we go to the TypeScript playground, for example, you see that we have something like this. And then you see that we still have a return type of any, right? So what you could do is then, and at least that's very tempting, do something like this, right? And then of course you have your key that's coming back, but you never be sure that that object that's here is really of type key, right? So another thing is that JSON.Jsonify, first of all, there are many objects that can be directly represented in JSON, irregular expressions, for example. Secondly, there are some values that get transformed in the conversion process. For example, undefined in an array becomes null, right? So if an object has to have a toJSON method, it will get called by JSON.Stringify. This is implemented by some of the standard types in JavaScript, notably date. So let's go for dates. So we have constant d equals new date, which is today. Then we can do something like d.toJSON, and this will give me a string, right? Used by the JSON.Stringify method to enable the transformation of an object's data for JavaScript object notation, JSON serialization, right? So that's nice to know, and it gives us some nice example of description about that. But every object that has a toJSON method will be used by the JSON.Stringify method to make a string out of it, right? So dates get converted to strings. Who knows? How to model this in Typescript? Well, let's just focus on the behavior around dates. For a complex mapping like this, we're going to want a conditional type, right? So one of the things that we could do then here is a type JSON, type Jsonify, for example, and then we have our t. Then we can do something like t extends date question mark string, and otherwise we go for t, right? So when we do then something like this, type g1 equals Jsonify, and then you do something like string, then you know that this is of type is string, right? When we do the same, but then for date, also get string, right? And then when we do something for Boolean, then we know that the type is Boolean. Of course, when we do something like type t equals Jsonify date null, then our type is date. Sorry, that's a tricky one. Our type is string, of course, right? Or that's correct. I'm still waking up. So type is string or annual, right? But what about object types? Usually the dates are buried somewhere in a larger type. So we'll need to make Jsonify recursive. This is possible as of Typescript 3.7, right? So we have now still our Jsonify. And then of course here we need to do something like the following. So I'm gonna put it on another part of this. Then I can do something like extends object. Put this also on another line. All right. Question mark. Then we can do something like this. K in key of t Jsonify and if t not extends object, then it's just a primitive, so then we can just return t, right? So it's important to know that, okay, if t extends date, right, then we need to go for a string. Otherwise, we need to see if t extends object. And if that's the case, if t extends object, then we need to look to every property in key of t, and then we need to Jsonify that key of t of that object, right? And otherwise we go for RT, which is a primitive type, right? So in the case that we have an object type, we use a mapped type, right? To recursively apply the JSON transformation. This already started to make some interesting new types. So, for example, we have an interface called student, which has an ID number, right? It has a name, that student has a birthday, type date, or an URL, right? Because that can be an URL as well. Nice. So when we go for T, type 1, type S, right? Type of student. You can do something like Jsonify student. And then you get something like this. DS, which is ID number, name string, birthday string, or nothing, right? So if we go here, we can go and we get boolean, and here we get string, and here also string, and here we have string or no, but here we get this structure, right? Great. So when we have an interface group student type student, v of type student, right, and z of type student. Well, when we now do something like type Jsonify group student, what will we get? What will we get? Well, we get this, right? It just types it out very easily. So that's the structure of JSON that we will get out of TGG. But what if we have an array involved, right? What if we have more? And then we do something like student, and then we do array. I'm very curious what it will be. What will it make out of more? Yeah. So you see here we have our type, and then we have our array right here, right? So it can work with arrays, right? But how does Typescript be able to figure that out, right? How does he know that it's an array, and how can he deal with that? Well, basically arrays are objects, right? So T extends object, and that's true for any array type. So that's very important to know. So one of the last things that I want to cover is the fact that we have here date. And date, we have it covered right here, right? It has a toJSON method, but everything that has a toJSON method can have this kind of thing, right? So one of the things that I want to do is here, I want to change this into the following. I want to go for this kind of notation, right? So instead of date, we have toJSON, and this toJSON is just a method, and it infers with u, which is the return type, and then we have here our return type, right? So so infer just goes for the return type of the toJSON. So this makes it a little bit more complete. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and I see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye.